So they wired me up on like a human microphone hybrid right now. I might wander. You're going to see a lot of really polished speakers and presentations. This isn't going to be that. Instead, what I'd like to do is share a hypothesis that we've been working on at Goodles for the last 5 years, what we kind of built the brand on, which is this idea that small acts, small disruptive acts and attitudes actually have greater impact than big ones. Small acts are bigger than big. Kind of built everything in the brand around that idea, and the business as well. Oh, all right. Let's see how this works. You press the green button. So just really quickly, a little bit about me. Most creative directors who wander into CPG companies come from the design side. Maybe they're package designers. I can't draw a straight line. I'm not a designer, I'm a writer. By trade, I came up through the agency world. I'm the output of big machines. I worked at very large multinational ad and marketing agencies my entire career on very, very big pieces of business, usually the number one or number two in any given category, from diapers to bourbon, though never together. That would be weird. Telecommunications, cell phones, washer, dryers, financial services, insurance, you name it, I've written for it. At a certain point, kind of late in my corporate career, I ended up one day, didn't know how it happened, starting an innovation and new venture center inside the agency I was working at. So in other words, for the first time ever, we were playing with the kinds of toys and tools that challenger brands play with, because our large clients were looking to do something adjacent, make a turn. In other words, they were sort of eschewing their common playbook, and so we had a chance to go along for the ride, and I was kind of bit with that sort of small brand or challenger brand bugs. And when I left the corporate world, the guys I had started that practice with, they were on my porch and they were saying, "You're out, finally, good, because we have something we want you to look at." It was Goodles. There was a name, there was a tagline, and there was a kind of a vague idea, but there was no brand yet. There was no idea yet. So, underdogs, they are my favorite animal. I mean, they're beguiling. We love a challenger story. We love a Rocky story, right? And so the chance to kind of dig in and build that from scratch was very exciting to me. Anyway, that's enough about me. Let's talk a little bit about Goodles. I met some of you yesterday in the cocktails. I think I'm supposed to say thank you, Tubi. Isn't that what we say, thank you? For the cocktails, much appreciated. Who had heard of Goodles, and some who hadn't. Weirdly, in the sort of CPG consumer brand bubble, people know us, but we've got a lot of growth to go. So as Aaron mentioned, there's this kind of a category that's on autopilot. People buy but don't shop. Mac and cheese is that. Therefore, the category manager at any major retailer is looking for whatever news can be made, and we sort of had a proposition that said maybe we could bring, for the first time ever, two things together that didn't really exist, right? Something that tasted awesome but was better for you, because it was kind of missing in the category. Both having that yum and that nutrition and being able to tell that story. And we managed to crack it, right? Making something a little better for you wasn't the tough thing. Making it completely opaque to your taste buds, still tastes like junk food. That took a bit longer to figure out, but we managed to crack it. And yes, it's got protein in it and prebiotic fiber and nutrients. I'm not going to sell you. I'm not here to shill the brand as much as the idea behind it. But there is something nice about being able to feed all the stomachs of all the kids, right? The fact that you can, we talk about sneaky veggies, your ability to get a serving of veggies into your child if they refuse to eat vegetables. Well, you can do that with Goodles. So it's serving benefits, but it's also kind of bringing people back to the category. We didn't just come to the table with an orange one and a white one, but we came with cacio e pepe and hatch chili and smoked Gouda, flavors for the kids who are 49 years old instead of 9 years old, so they could come along for the ride, because anybody who's a parent, you always take the mom or dad tax, right, when you make it for your kids. We wanted to make sure there was one for you too. Now we come in microwavable cups, Goodles.com, Target, Walmart, wherever you get your mac and cheese. So kind of wanted to create it for everyone. But the results have been encouraging. We've sold a bunch of billion noodles. We're seeing growth in category, so almost 90% of Goodles buyers are actually incremental to the category of mac and cheese, whether they're lapsed and coming back, they haven't eaten it since they were 7, or they're new to category. Almost 75% of the growth in that aisle we're responsible for. So we're seeing good things happening by introducing this proposition. But this proposition wouldn't have been born had we gone things a traditional way, because we simply did not have the ability to do so. I was given a back pat yesterday for knowing what a slotting fee was as a creative. We can't outspend the competition. We just simply do not have the dollars, right? We cannot offer price relief the way that a competitor do, the slotting fees. No big agency. We can't, go out and do massive studies to learn, honestly, what our competitors will also learn about mac and cheese and what's going on in category. We had to do things a little bit differently. And luckily, that necessity forced us to approach things a bit more with that challenger mindset. We had to stay a little bit small, and it was in our tagline from the very beginning, this idea of taking something good and making it gooder. Again, so a tiny, weird little act. Not better, but gooder. A word that doesn't exist, which actually the trademark attorneys liked as well. We discovered. But this idea of little small moves, little small changes in thinking, or actual acts, and benefiting from the things that result from that, we've been kind of putting those to work, and we've been getting good results, good momentum. I wouldn't call this a case, because we're just 5 years old, we're just getting started, but it is kind of a demonstration of, like, we're getting good signals from the market, that this is working. So sort of, we defined gooder. You make a little change, you make things a little funner, a little weirder, and a little better. And if you take that lens and you use it against all sorts of things within your environment, good stuff can happen. Gooder stuff can happen. At least that's what we've seen. So we said, well, we can't outspend them, but we can outgooder them. See what I did there? So where does that take us? I'd be remiss if I didn't turn this into a little snackable for this group. So I tried to pull a few observations, a few lessons, a few things we're doing in our mix to show you how we're applying, just kind of turning things just 3 degrees and seeing results from doing that. And then, I think we're doing a roundtable later. How this applies to you guys, your businesses, the things you have in your purview will be a little bit different, but at least it's just a new frame and way of thinking about it. So the first, I'll just go through a few quickly. The first is that we really don't delineate between the three. And so to us, brand and the business and the product is all kind of the same thing, and that's not just lip service. Investment is made in the three with the same attention and rigor. And this goes from the very top. Our lead team is very focused on making sure that, building the fan base gets the same attention that R&D gets in order to put the right products in those fans' hands when they're ready for them. All done in a model that makes good sense, because if we don't have legendary business results, none of this stuff matters, right? You need to be fueled. So that first sort of shift in attitude, as opposed to the head nod or the siloing between sort of the three legs of the stool, the three spheres of influence, we're in each other's business a lot more. We had the benefit of being smaller. I mean, when I think I was number 5 in the shop. For the first 2 years, I don't think we got over 20 people, and we're not that much bigger than that now, even as we take on additional scale in sales and ops and things like that. When R&D is kind of talking about pipeline, I'm in there. I know what they're doing early enough where the maybes are. As I like to say, I like my inefficiency early in the process. So if I'm coming up with kooky names for flavors that never make it to the shelf one day, that's fine. I know what's on their mind. I know where they're hunting. I know what they're looking at in trend and culture. And I can kind of start to think about how I might express that in creative coming down the pike. Same thing with them. Like when we are looking to name products, everybody in the company, we have a naming channel on Slack, and everyone in the company is throwing in names. So, if you guys know our products, our Hatch chili, which is called Down the Hatch, that was named by our COO. Here Comes Truffle was named by one of our sales guys. Like, we don't really care where the idea comes from as long as it's good. So there isn't a thing that says that's the agency's job and the creative's job. That's product dev. The finance guys don't like us to muck with them too much. That's a little bit different. But so this blending of one, that to me is a slight shift in thinking to how things are typically done in organizations of any size that we really follow through and practice on. And as a result, we know what each other are thinking. We can finish each other's sentences. We take those leaps together. This is a standard one. We've seen this played out. 5 years ago when we first built the brand, it was a little newer. But those of you who play in the retail space know how important a brand block is. Color is usually a big, sort of the big expression of that. We opted to go a very different way, which was to say instead of picking color, picking one color, we were going to pick color in general. Very specifically, and we'll talk about local in a minute, very specifically, the weirdest colors found in nature within a 10-mile radius around Santa Cruz, California, because that's where the headquarters of the company is. So our palettes were built on things that are true to us about where we are from. It's a sort of our take on provenance or origin, if you will. We don't talk about that in any rooms other than these. I'm not talking to fans about how that particular green is from the moss that we found the banana slug on in the redwood forest, but it does show up in our packaging, and it all kind of hangs together the way that any palette you find in nature would hang together. When we do food sampling, we festoon our trucks with a logo that was, again, inspired by a graffiti wall about 2 miles from our headquarters in Santa Cruz on River Street. So something kind of fun going on there. From a marketing or branding perspective, one of we were kind of forced, again, to kind of shift our thinking and say, maybe we should give ourselves permission to do things that other folks won't do. Hats off to the big guys. They've built massive businesses. They have equity they need to defend. We're building ours. So we create a story for every single SKU we build. In this case, for Here Comes Truffle, it's all about trouble, so we created a Truffle Pig Biker Bar, and you can see there's some kind of deal going on in the parking lot there. And when we introduced our pasta, it was all about how it tasted great without anything on it at all. So Taste Great Naked became the idea, and we just did a little, very tasteful, artful photo shoot with our boxes in various places. And you can see how we did it in the graphics. So the point is this sort of, again, the shift of sort of challenging what is considered appropriate for category. We kind of are ignoring all of that. We're kind of freed by the lack of dollars in our coffers on any given day to try stuff that we can create ourselves without an agency. We do almost everything in-house with a few people. And create the stuff. We bring in specialists as we need them. But again, keeping it very small, making the decision to get impact through being small and focused as opposed to expansive and diluted. Or perhaps we look both far afield and very close in for what competition can really inform us about. Per my thought about expensive research, and hats off to all the research companies in the room, they're not going to tell us anything, chances are, that they're not telling a competitor, right? And so maybe we're going to look elsewhere for what's going to inspire the brand, what's going to inspire the choices we make. And so the brand is built on stuff that happens very close, like in Santa Cruz, but also when we were building our fan club, our clubhouse, we looked at as far afield as New Zealand, All Blacks, who put a drop of blood of each of the players into all the stuff they do. So that level of sort of rabid fandom we were obsessed with and continue to be. Hiring practices. This is a big one. This came up in conversation yesterday at the cocktail hour. We sort of have bifurcated our hire, right? And I think this is very different than I've seen it done in large companies and in small. Is that in the next generation of folks, the younger folks coming up, we do not care whether they know how to do anything. We don't care. We don't care, right? We care that the vibe is right, that the curiosity is there, that the intelligence is there, because we know that the few of us who've been doing this a little bit longer, my beard didn't used to be this color, have enough of the way things should be and what we're going to consciously do to sort of disrupt them. It's like the whole golf thing. Like, it's a lot easier to teach someone who's never golfed how to swing a club than to teach someone to unlearn bad habits. As long as they're the right type of human, we've been moving them around. There's very little attrition at Goodles. We just move people around the company until we find a fit, and then we build around them. And as a result, they are family, they are loyal, they are retained, right? And so there's something really nice about building that from scratch. So the notion of looking for people who are sleeve roll uppers and doers and actually growing them into something real, it isn't lip service, it's how we built the business. KPIs, I know there were some jokes yesterday about all the acronyms in marketing. And I would be remiss, I'd be lying if I said we weren't talking EBITDA with the board and we weren't talking about year-over-year growth with any given retailer partner we're sitting with, but it's not the first thing we present. The first thing we present is the latest round of love we've gotten from our fans. So we're now this loop is kind of closing, and we open up our conversations with our board and with our buyers with that stuff. That hits harder than the data. And yeah, the data is what they need to tick off on their little sheets, on their scorecards, 100%, but boy, is this a nice cherry, right? And so we do talk about measuring our success and how many tattoos of our characters actually end up on people's body. It's frighteningly a lot. Or the kinds of love letters we get, invitations to people's weddings, bar mitzvahs, proms. Like we've been at, like we don't just, they're not like, hey, can you send us free product? We get like they want us to show up in like, pink bow ties and hang out. So it's super fun. And Halloween costume, which is when I worked on the ad side, you said like a brand made it if someone dressed up. I worked on the Allstate business for years. When someone dresses up as Mayhem for Halloween, that meant we made it. People are doing that right away. They're dressing up as our boxes, which has to be incredibly uncomfortable. But they were doing it. I use this. This is just a few pieces of UGC that we took and kind of put into our marketing. The notion of it's kind of I always talk about the mighty Sioux Nation. They used every part of the buffalo, right? That's the old adage that every scrap of resource was used. We kind of follow that same rigor in what we do. If we get a piece of content and we get some doozies from folks, and I'll just play a few really quickly. This is the first one. We gave away Switchblade sporks for Here Comes Truffle. That became a piece of content for us. Like, again, I don't have a huge production facility ready to go to create stuff like that, and I wouldn't have come up with that idea. But it's awesome, and we're going to put it out there. So that feedback loop, as the fans, take in the brand and share with us and bring it out, we're making sure to do it. This next one's a little long. I'll skip through it. But this is a stunt person team, a couple in LA that love us, and periodically they send us the next chapter of the movie they're making. And it's like, this is all about Goodles. I'll skip through it, but they do. And so every few months they did one in like the aisle, when we went into Costco, they did it in the aisle of the Costco. It's insane the level of production quality they'll go through. I didn't do it, but I'm going to use it. Right? And finally, the one in the middle, this is someone who called our customer service line when we went into Target. We loved it so much, we hired a little local illustrator to just do a little.
I went to Target and I was looking through like some like buffalo sauce and I spotted your fucking mac and cheese, bro. I bought that shit and I just made it, and that shit is so fucking good, bro. Like, that shit is way better than the original. Like, I don't know what y'all put in this, but I'm gonna buy way more. Like, this shit's a whole meal. It got hella low calories, pretty good protein.
You get the idea. So that came through the line. We actually put a swear jar in the office when that came in, and anytime someone curses, we clearly share it with the consumer base. So, this idea of using every part of what you have within the ecosystem, not letting it separate. I know, y'all in the room are doing this. We have to do it, right? And so necessity forces us to get, necessity forces modernity. Right? It forces us to work in a way that is working for the market. We're seeing the results. This whole presentation started with a slide, right? It was sort of the basis, is that any given thing we do, I kind of think of the brand like a fractal, if there are any math nerds in the room, which is that at any order of magnitude, it looks the same. We want to always behave like the brand, not describe the brand in everything we do. It's kind of a mantra for us. And so everything we do, I mean, we put a unicorn on the side of the box because it was unbelievably delicious. This thing could be healthy and delicious. How unbelievable. And that became Uni, this little guy. We found a toy company. They were discontinuing him. So there were about, I don't know, 380 of these left. We just bought them all and made them promise not to make any more of them. And we use them for our marketing now. Whenever we launch a new SKU in one of our bigger retailer partners, then we make a little unique video for them using. We just launched our Wild Wild Pesto. So he's in a cowboy hat. You'll be seeing that coming soon in a saloon. So every single time we launch a SKU, we do a world for it. So Dreamy Creamy was Narnia at night. Thrilled Cheese became like a big American amusement park. And we'll show you touches of those things, but it's always there. You can always scratch deeper. If I have to go back to the well and kind of lean into one of those flavors in marketing, I now have an entire world I can build from. We do that stuff at the outset. We do it small and lean, and then we can run with it. Uni, we talked about. You can see our do-gooder knuckle tattoos. That was one of the first things. We made little sweaters for our sporks, because naturally you need a spork sweater. And that's our customer service number. If one of our people doesn't pick up, it goes to kind of like a dial-a-joke thing. We just wrote a bunch of noodle jokes. They're really pretty terrible, but you can enjoy them at your leisure. Anything we do, we try to do to the nines. This is a big one for us. Another sort of small is big thing is we are always incredibly neighborly. We bring people along with us on this journey. So Expo, Natural Food Expo, anybody who's in the food CPG world knows it. It's kind of the place where we do a lot of stuff. No offense to the lanyard makers, but a lot of the parties at Expo are khakis and lanyards at Morton's in Anaheim, right? And we thought, well, maybe we do something a little bit different. So we threw a prom, and we invited 2,000 people to the House of Blues and did a prom, and we invited brands to come along with us. This past year, we did something similar, where we took 10 like-spirited brands, we built a charm bracelet, and we kind of directed people, we navigated people through the show to our kind of buddy brands, and they could just pick up a charm from each one and collect them all. So, other brands, like-spirited brands we find in the world, like there are lots of us hustling out there, trying to build things from nothing. This is an opportunity to do it. You can always be neighborly and tip your little cap whenever you can. Finally, and I'm coming up on time, I'll end where I started. Every single box says on the back of it, this is huge, and points to a little tiny noodle. It's the very first thing I ever wrote in the deck when I pitched the spiel to the CEO and the co-founder, was the idea that that tiny noodle, us shifting a noodle to something that's a little better for you and immediately giving people permission to enjoy again, that's our gooder. That's the little thing we're doing. The other thing we put on on every box is a call to action to you to kind of challenge you and celebrate you for what it is you're going to do, the little gooders you're going to put into the world, the little tiny disruptive weird acts that you can do, like this little guy. Thank you.
Dan, thank you so much for, I'm coming at
disembodied
you from
voice
all
from the
over the
back.
world. Yes. It's basically like you're God for the next 3 days here, right?
Awesome. Wonderful.
I would like to make a personal request for that little unicorn, if you have not already given away. My daughter loves unicorns, and if I can't have that one, I'll just, shoot you my address earlier. Did you guys ever actually go to like a prom or event or something, or?
We do. We did go to a couple in like the second year. After that, we created basically a package. What we do is we send gifts, right? If it's your birthday, if you reach out to us and are like, we'd love to have you there, we probably can't show up in person, but we're going to make sure that you're stacked. I mean, that's what they're asking for in the first place, is just to, am I talking to you back there?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're good.
That's what they're looking for, is they really want to connect with the brand. So we send gifts.
I love that. All right, we are now in our question and answer portion of the content. Before we get into that, I do want to give a quick Media Post welcome to the newest member of the Media Post family, Miss Maddie Canny on my team, who is over there on mics. This is her second week, you guys. Second week, second event. Nobody, put her on the spot. Ben, Flacos, I'm looking at you. Be nice. All right, everybody, be nice.
I was just going to say, please be nice to me. Take it easy.
All right, what questions do we have for Dan?
Anything.
All right, and when you are asking your question, please make sure that you introduce yourself, your name, and what company you are with.
And if I'm looking in the wrong direction, it's because I can't see you.
Hi, I'm Terry. I'm from a brand called Ruckster.
Hi, Terry.
Do you, for the UGC content, do you ask for permission or do you use it and then ask
if
for forgiveness?
if we're going to kind of package up something like that, we ask for permission. What we've discovered is, in some cases, and this is an evolution you're probably seeing too. They're sending it with permission. Like they're actually when they reach out to us. In other words, they're not just sort of tagging us or sharing it through social channels. They'll kick us a note to hello@allgoodles.com saying, hey, that stunt video thing we're doing, you think it's awesome, put it out there. So they're using us as a media channel in a weird way. Not really weird. They're using us as a media channel. So, but yeah, we ask for permission if we don't have it.
Yeah, keep looking over here. Oh, we're getting lights now. That's perfect. Perfect amount of lights.
Any other questions?
Hi, Dan. Over here.
Hi. Hello.
Hi, Demetria from Addie and Lee. Funny
Nice to meet
enough,
you.
we work with brands to help them scale, and you had a nice slide that says do things that don't scale so they scale. Can you go deeper into that? Because a lot of the things require budget approval or they require return on investment, proof of concept, all the fun words we have to put presentations about. So if we start with it won't scale, I'm just curious what your approach is.
Yeah. I mean, the good news is the people I'm asking permission to do so, like they're like right there. They're not a lot of layers, so I do have the benefit of being small. It makes the permission chain. The sell doesn't need to be as strategic. There aren't 53 different buyers with different motivations. Only a couple with different motivations. So that's an advantage we might have over some cases. I would say the notion is things that are typically not seen as scalable, you should do the hard work to scale them. So that could be something as simple as the CEO personally handwriting a response to every single complaint email of the few we get, because every brand does, for whatever reason. She will sit down and write them herself. When people come by our office, our headquarters, it looks like a big restaurant. We basically took over a restaurant and turned it into a corporate office. So it looks like a noodle bar that you can walk into. You can't. The minute someone tries that door, there's someone out there answering them. So I'm using scale, both large and small, to say make the extra effort in things and don't look at things that you wouldn't do because you think you can't do it 1,000 times. Find a way to do it 1,000 times, or take the lesson from it and do it 1,000 times, 10,000 times. For us, 10,000 is enough right now. Right? I hear you. As we continue to grow, and we were having this conversation over breakfast, as we continue to grow, the choices of what it means to do things not at scale is going to become tougher. You're absolutely right. We're going to have to make those decisions as we go. Great question.
Hi, excuse me. Jessica Vishen with IGA Independent Grocers Alliance.
Hello, Jessica from IGA Independent Grocers Association.
Hello. I was wondering, when you guys were getting started, how did you, what do you think were the best tactics to convincing retailers to start carrying your brand? I'm going to do the Steve Jobs thing where I just think for like 45 minutes before I answer. The best tactics to convince a retailer to take a chance. Yeah, because it's such an established category, right?
You need to. We made the case for disruption. So the story was framed a little bit like I did in the first 3 slides. In fact, I copped those slides from an early pitch deck. Was to sort of say this is what is actually happening in that aisle. They're dying for it. They just maybe haven't articulated to themselves yet. They're looking elsewhere for the spike. If you can go to them and say, I actually have built a better mousetrap, and they're over in the paint aisle and they're like, oh, we can go over to the mousetrap aisle and we can get some incremental out of that. They're going to come incremental. See the creative guy? He's in the. They're going to come over. They're going to come along for the ride. So you're giving them a thing they want, and then proving it to them. I would also say tastings. Tasting is believing. We did not go to a sales meeting. We still
Don't go to, like we walk into sales meetings with the buyers who love us and the retailers who love us, and they taste the food with us, and until everybody's going yum, it ain't going out the door. It's a big thing for us. So actually that the product works, that it delivers the functional benefit of tasting good with all the stuff that's in it that's good for you, that's huge.
We have one more question over here.
Ciao, Dan. Here. Yeah, just like this is Fabrizio from Fresh and Emulator USA. It's a sparkling wine company. My question is about innovation and how do you define your permission space? Meaning, we have seen different flavors, but what's next? Thinking about even what Graza has done with the mayo, the popcorn, and so on and so forth. Are you thinking something like that?
So there are again, I feel like my partner's the creative guy, so that I will answer these questions in a way that is creative. I'm going to give you some not creative answers to the question. So there's a couple of axes there in my mind. This is, again, my little creative brain. There's a couple of axes there. One is in the inherency of the product itself. So choices you make about how willing you are to have a brand, like our brand stands for something bigger than mac and cheese. Therefore, we could put all sorts of things underneath it. Fresh and could put all sorts of liquids in the bottles, or say we want to do a can, or we want to do a still instead of a sparkling or something. It's a choice you make to do that. It may open up another supply chain, right? And the decisions that you may need to make around that, so that you have to weigh that axis. The other axis is people, right? So trends and culture, and you say, what balance of flavors that we put out do we want to be for what eater? So if you think about it, we talked about the multiple stomachs of Aaron's children and sneaking veggies into their bellies. So thinking about what kids might eat, and then also thinking about more adventurous eaters and what they might eat, and making a decision about how much of your mix do you want to be stuff that's kind of satisfying a core versus stuff that pushes out a little bit. I think that's what probably anybody looking to extend a line or innovate is doing. I'd say it's those two things. So inherency of product, right? How committed are you to what defines you as you? What do you have permission to do from a product perspective, driven by business decisions? And the other is, what is culture telling you? How have you striated your audience? How have you looked at things differently? Who are you trying to feed or quench? Great question.
Dan, thank you so much
Thank you.
for kicking us off this morning.